Let's go ahead and bring in our guest. Over 14 NFL seasons with the Tampa Bay Bucks, he never missed a single game. That's incredible. A total of 224 consecutive games. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year, a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and College Football Hall of Fame, a Super Bowl champion, and a national champion. Wow, I'm exhausted just saying that. I imagine it was exhausting doing it. Derrick Brooks, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. Happy to be here.
Well, we'll get to the Super Bowl, and we definitely want to talk about your prolific career. But first, you are a Tampa Bay insider. What have you been thinking this weekend and this week, watching Tom Brady's retirement announcement, all leading up to him announcing it himself?
Well, I think I salute him. I clap him. Job well done for him to be in this position of influence, and you think about all the relationships that he's been able to have during this time in the NFL. I'm in awe, to be honest with you. The accolades, all those things will speak for themselves, and probably not going to see anyone eclipse those in my lifetime. But for me to just say that, he's affected this game and built tremendous relationships through the competitiveness of being on a football field is outstanding. And again, I salute him, and I'm very grateful that he chose to come to the Buccaneers 2 years ago and help us win our second Super Bowl.
Derrick, I got to just emphasize that you played every single game of your career. At your position, how's that even possible? What do you eat? What is the secret?
Well, Giannis, I don't necessarily know if it's all about what I eat or what I drink. I just think in my career, I made it important to take care of my body and make those decisions to do that. And now, taking care of your body is a science. Guys are making that investment into doing it to live healthier lives. But for me, I just stayed on a routine, knock on some wood somewhere, because it definitely was some luck in accomplishing that. Yeah. But to go through and play every game of my career with no major injuries and punching that clock every single day is something that I took a lot of gratification into really once I retired. But while I was playing, it was all about staying into the moment and making those decisions, as well as the investment into taking care of my body.
How do you do that in a city like Tampa? How do you avoid partying? I mean, that's a tough city not to party in.
Well, I was trying to go there by saying making wise decisions.
He never said he didn't party.
I said I made wise decisions, through my entertainment actions. But for me, again, never smoked, man. I stopped drinking in college. I mean, that was part of it.
Wow.
But it's more to that. I mean, from deciding your eating habits. You can't be eating certain things, late at night during the day. So, yes, it was a regimen that went into it. And I treated everything every single day. I got in the cold tub every single day. I got in our sauna every single day that I was in that facility. And I just built a habit and a routine. Working out, yoga, which I discovered later in my career was something that I enjoyed and I still do today. So as I said, it was those conscious decisions and again, knock on wood, because, there are positions that I ended up on a football field and I see guys getting hurt every single day. When I played and even now, that when I was in those positions, I was blessed to walk away uninjured.
Giannis, I keep telling you to stop smoking, drinking, eating late at night, and start working out. That's all it is. I keep telling you.
I've done all that. The problem is I'm going to be performing in Tampa on February 10th, and I think there's just no way to avoid eating unhealthy and going to a strip club.
I'm glad your wife doesn't listen to the show. I know she doesn't.
Well, that's why I say best decisions and wise decisions.
Yep. Now, Derrick, I want to get to the teams you were on, especially the 2002 season. You all allowed just over 12 points per game that season. You were Defensive Player of the Year, obviously. Mm-hmm. That defense was so good. Yourself, yes. John Lynch, Warren Sapp. I've heard you talk about how Warren was such a big personality. He was even hard to control in practice. Can you give us an example?
Well, I don't necessarily say control in a bad sense. I think all of our
Okay.
personalities, for years, was part of our strengths. The stage of football is big enough for everybody to stand on and be yourself. And I think that was more so really important to me in being the leader of that team was giving everybody their personal space to be themselves. At the same time, they put in the work that was necessary for us to be great. And that's one thing that I can say as bigger personality as Warren, Simeon Rice, Keyshawn, Rondé, John,
Yeah.
myself, you can go down, Brad Johnson, a whole list of them. At the end of the day, we collectively came together, and when it was time to work, we put in the work. And that's to me is where the personalities stood out to most. Whether it's me competing against Mike Allstott and wanting to be the best, whether it was Keyshawn and Brian Kelly and Rondé Barber going against each other, wanting to be the best for bragging rights. But
Yeah.
that competitiveness brought us together, there were times where I had to step back and let them be themselves, and give them the stage to do that. And I think to me, when you can find that chemistry on a team, that makes that chemistry go. And that sometimes end up being the secret sauce in terms of camaraderie that most people can't put a finger on when they see great teams do it.
You mentioned Brad Johnson. He was never necessarily a big name quarterback, and we see so many teams in the playoffs getting there with a big name quarterback. Do you think the quarterback takes too much pressure or too much glory after a win?
No, I mean, in today's game, the quarterback position, it starts and ends there. I mean, let's be honest. The game and the rules have changed where that position has so much influence on the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I played, you go down 2 touchdowns, 3 scores, game may be over, because of great defense is being played. But as we can see now, being down 2, 3 touchdowns in today's game is nothing. Teams could come back because they have the talent at the quarterback position, and you see the game changing towards that. So I would like to say that if Brad was playing in today's game, he would make that adjustment just like some players that I played would say they would have made that adjustment. But I like the era that I played in where defense was dominant.
Yeah,
and
I bet.
and we went out and was able to keep low-scoring games, where now the game has adapted. And, you got to adapt with the changes that come.
Do you think quarterbacks should get fined when they get hurt? Because it's like, how did you get hurt? Everything is made for you not to get hurt.
Well, I ain't gonna say fine when they get hurt, but when they do certain things that cross the line, you treat them the same as everybody else. Where it's a quarterback celebrating where he shouldn't be and taunting. Yeah, you fine him. But getting hurt, no. I don't think anyone should be fined for getting hurt.
You used to hit guys hard. There's actually like a great compilation on YouTube of a lot of trash talking going on, things you used to say. Before you hit guys and you knocked their lights out, did you ever make a wish before you blew their lights out?
No. Hey, you know what? I probably should have did a little bit more wishing. Maybe I have another Super Bowl ring. But man, when I listen to those things, I actually laugh at myself because I don't remember myself being that talkative on a field. And I guess that's why they have the video. Because when I'm in the moment, I'm in the moment. And when I played, I'm playing. But now when I go back and I see some of the NFL films or YouTubes, I was like, damn, I sure talked a lot on the field. And I never realized that when I was playing.
I want to go back to that Super Bowl win with the Bucs against the Raiders, 48-21. It was a complete rout. The Bucs intercepted Rich Gannon 5 times. You ran a pick back for a touchdown. People have theories about that game that John Gruden knew what the Raiders were going to do. So what was it? Well,
John Gruden knew the personality of key players on that team. That's what John did. And he did a great job of laying those personalities out to us in practice. And he actually would, especially when he got to Rich Gannon, he knew Rich so well that a couple times he portrayed that personality by playing quarterback. That's how in detail yes, that he wanted. He's like, hey, if we do X, we do Y, he's going to show you Z. He's going to do T. So he gave us those scenarios based on their personalities. And that's what I would tell people when they say that. No, coach didn't know the plays. He knew their personality. And once we saw that it was coming true, that what we were doing in our disguises, in our manipulations, those personality traits started to show in the game, we got on it. And we just kept applying the pressure and tilted the game in our way. But more importantly, we took advantage of those opportunities because that offense that year, they were number one in the league. When he gave you a chance to get a pick, you picked it off. You didn't turn it into a missed opportunity. And I think that's where our defense does not get enough credit, that we made those opportunities, but more importantly, we executed and did not miss them when they came our way.
Speaking of that, I just unleashed on the Chiefs. I almost feel like the Chiefs this last week didn't win as much as they lost that game. What do you think about that? Was the defense?
Yeah, that's why you can't just give credit to the Bengals. Give credit to the Bengals. The Bengals, you have to. You have to give credit to them because, one, they stayed engaged the entire 4 quarters. You know, that energy never shift. Now, I do think the decision by Kansas City not to kick the field goal going into halftime, it affected the mindset. I personally think that. But I want to give all credit, man, to the Bengals. They made plays when they had to, and they did not miss opportunities. The one opportunity they did miss was when Patrick Mahomes fumbled that last time before they kicked the field goal. They didn't jump on the fumble. They could have ended the game. But the Bengals and Joe Burrow made plays. He punished them with his athleticism. So I more so on the same side give credit to the Bengals than more so say what Kansas City did not do. And maybe that's because I'm a defensive guy.
Yeah. I would think, especially after losing the coin toss, that you would just deflate. But the fact that they didn't and they still came back and got the ball second and got to come away with a win was incredible. I'm Team Bengals now, and I'm born and raised Kansas City, but I'm giving a lot of credit to the Bengals now. I love watching them play. They've been so clear that they don't want to be considered underdogs. They literally have been all playoffs, and they are again in the Super Bowl. Have you ever been a part of a team or remember a team that had that mentality and used it to their advantage? They kept overcoming odds?
Yeah, of course, I played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, people with 1995 when I was drafted, okay, 12, 10 or more losing seasons. So I understand the underdog more than any. But just as important, I understand what it's like to turn around a culture in a franchise too. And I think that's the place where the Bengals are at right now is, hey, we can't do anything about the teams from 1988 until a few years ago. All we know is this team that we are now, and we're staying in this culture and building moving forward. And I definitely understand that because that's the way I felt when I got to the Buccaneers in 1995. Hey, I can't do anything about going on 26 back in 1976. But what I can do from 1995 moving forward, this is the culture that I want to be around, and this is the culture that we're going to build, and it's going to be a winning one.
Going into the Super Bowl, if you were on the Rams, and what would be your mentality considering, Joe Burrow hits the deck a lot, the O-line's a little porous. What would be your game plan and mentality if you were the Rams?
Well, first of all, you try to eliminate distractions. And I saw our Buccaneers team go through that last year in hosting the Super Bowl. They did everything they could to eliminate distractions, the advantage of practicing at their own facilities. I think Coach Arians even, kind of had them stay in the hotel to kind of get them away from all distractions. So LA, the distraction is going to be even 3 times as much as it was in Tampa. So I think the players got to do a good job, especially this first week. Hey, get all the non-football things taken care of. You don't want to be dealing with tickets next week. You don't want to be dealing with travel, etc. You want to get all those things out of the way so you can get your mind focused back on the X's and O's of the game. So if I'm a Rams player, that's the thing I'm trying to do as quickly as possible is eliminate distractions.
What is that Super Bowl week like as a player? You mentioned there's family, there's people asking for tickets and travel, all of this. There's more media than ever. How do you stay focused on X's and O's?
Well, I was fortunate enough. Our Super Bowl was the last year that they did not have the bye week. So we went from Philadelphia in the championship game. We landed in Tampa about 1 a.m. We had to be back at the airport at 4 a.m. to fly out west. Because we go to a different time zone on the West Coast. So we didn't have that week in between to go through this. And that was the last Super Bowl that did it. Now all the Super Bowls have the week in between. And now you have time to do that. And most teams, they try to do it on the Monday and Tuesday of that first week. So they could start winning the game plan for preparing for football start the Wednesday of. So you try to stay on as much of a normal week as possible. So the first 48 hours, hey, if they hadn't called you by then, or get your ticket allotment, get your travel, get all those things out of the way, because you hit that building Wednesday, it's all about the team we're playing.
Yeah, you can't have any more cousins coming out of the woodwork now asking for tickets.
Right. and guys, as much as people talk about that with players, it's even more so on the coaches. Because family members think coaches have way more time than players. So the coaches go through that level of stress as well. So it's really an organizational focus that it takes to get past that.
Von Miller, obviously midseason addition for the Rams, little past his prime, but how did you see his impact on their season?
I think his impact came at the right time. He went in knowing that, hey, man, I'm behind and learning this system, different players. And he was patient with himself in learning it, just getting a little bit better each week, playing a few more plays each week, but more importantly, staying healthy during this stretch. I think that was the key for Von Miller, is the fact that he stayed healthy the second half of the season since the trade. Now, if he'd have been traded and got hurt again, obviously that's not good. But I think the fact that he was able to stay healthy the last 6, 7, 8 games was a big part of the Rams' success on defense.
Watching Matt Stafford in his 13th season, going from winless in the postseason to winning out and going to the Super Bowl, as a former player, is it hard not to root for a guy like that?
Well, I can't have any rooting interest because I have coaches and relationships on both sides. The only rooting interest that I had was last year when everyone knew I was rooting for the Bucs. But again, you just appreciate there's a story for everybody in getting to this moment. Whether Little League overcoming something, professionally being told you can't do this, you can't do that. One thing I can assure you of this. Lives going to get changed. The winner of this game, the loser of this game, lives are affected and lives get changed by the outcome of this game. And to me, that's the beauty of this game, meaning the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
not to backtrack too much, but, it is such a, it's a popular topic. Everyone wants to know. Since you're such an insider, can you give us a little insight on what happened with AB down there in Tampa Bay? Do you think if he was on the field, they would have won that game? And what's going on? Who do I believe, Tampa Bay or AB?
I appreciate your confidence in my level of access, but I'm a very humble man, and when I don't know, I don't know. So I have no problem telling you or whoever I do not know. Honestly, I saw what everybody saw in real time unfold. A situation that had reached a point of no return on both sides. And it played out on national TV in some of the most unfortunate circumstances. And to me, it's not a matter of who I believe. It's a matter of if everyone understands what their role is in the dissemination of the relationship, how do you correct that moving forward so that doesn't happen again in your organization or in your life personally? That's the focus that I would address on either side. Is there's some circumstances that happen that each side reached a point of no return. Well, how do you avoid that moving forward to grow as an organization and to grow as a person?
Derrick, you mentioned that lives will get changed for the guys on the winning team, but it kind of piqued my interest because you also won a national championship with Florida State. Joe Burrow and obviously some others playing in this game are trying to do that, win a national championship and then a Super Bowl. How do you compare the feeling of each? Because college teammates sometimes are closer. There's no money. It's more pure. There's less fame. That's got to be a very different experience to win that with those guys.
It is, and it was for me because I was part of Coach Bowden's first national championship after so many disappointments.
Wow.
So, yes, it is a big difference when you talk about collegiate athletes winning a national championship and, winning a Super Bowl. I think the impact of winning a Super Bowl is probably more because now you're dealing with the business side of the number one event in the world. You're a part of it. Your life is going to change immensely from that standpoint. Your life's going to change in college because you did it with a group of guys in that finite time of a relationship in college. It comes and goes so quickly, but those memories never leave you. Versus a transactional situation in the NFL where that relationship could be more than 4 years, but you don't have the camaraderie and the sense of struggle that you do in college just because the games are different. I like to say one is more of a business field and one is more of a personal field. But at the end of the day, I was blessed because I had a chance to feel the ultimate feeling by winning them both.
What's your impression of T.J. Watt? Obviously, a shoo-in for Defensive Player of the Year. What's your opinion on T.J. Watt? What do you see?
I see an impact player that make plays. Man, he's been able to make his presence felt for the Pittsburgh Steelers in so many ways. And for me, when you see a defender that's that impactful, man, you become a fan. To be honest with you, but the one key is to him is how do he continue to make the players around him better? That's what I look for in all great players. How do you make the ones around you better? If you cannot accomplish that, then you're not a great player. You're not a great leader. You have to do that in all your greatness. How do you elevate those around you?
Follow-up question. Let's just put it on the table. Who's the best linebacker of all time? Is it you?
I'm going to definitely always start with me, of course.
I like that.
But then I'll go to some other guys. Obviously, when you talking defensive player impact, it's hard not to start with the two words Lawrence Taylor. And like I say, I'll put Derrick Brooks a very close second. But it's always fun, man, to go through these arguments because now when you start talking linebackers and being leaders, man, you go through eras, because some say the linebackers of the 70s was better than the ones in the 80s and the ones in the 90s, they say all they did was rush the passer, and the guy in the 2000s, they never rushed. They covered and filled the space. Well, when a lot of us get around each other, it becomes more of a whose era was better when it came to the linebacker position more so than, any one person. And I like being a part of those arguments.
I'm way too young to know all that. So, Giannis, after we record, can you fill me in on the linebackers of the 70s and 80s?
Well, I'll tell you, Lawrence Taylor, I'm a New York Giants fan. Obviously, I'm from New York. Lawrence Taylor, you. There's a few, but, you got to give LT some credit because he had a different take care of your body regiment than you did, and it still worked out for him somehow.
Hey.
So, I mean,
that's what I said, man. How many? Hey, they say it's over. I forgot the number of Hall of Famers, but whatever that number is, there's over 300 and some ways to get to Canton, Ohio. So, so I agree. So, that was the best decision for me, and obviously, it worked for LT, obviously too.
If Matt Stafford is able to win this Super Bowl, do you think he's a lock for the Hall of Fame?
I hate to say anyone's a lock outside of Tom Brady.
Right.
That's just,
Yeah.
I thought with my good teammate, Rondé Barber, I thought he would have been in the Hall of Fame by now. And hopefully he'll get in it in a couple of weeks. But I thought Shannon Sharp, when he retired, that he was a lock. and he waited. So it's never a safe thing to say that anyone's a lock to me outside of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that this week is what will his legacy be and how important this is. Don't know how much longer we have Matt Stafford. Well, Derrick, you've been incredible. I know you can't really give a pick, but if you had a feeling of who's going to come out stronger next Sunday, who would you feel like is going to look a little bit better?
Well, I say I can guarantee you this: an NFL team is going to win the Super Bowl. I just don't know which one.
Hey, come on now. Come on now.
I just want the trend to remain the same. I think the 2021 season and the 22 year, the playoff games have been outstanding. And I just want the Super Bowl to follow the same trend that got everyone excited about the game of football again. Not once have anyone talked about having an extra regular season game where a team losing a bye week and the number one seed, as everyone saw, you fight for the number one seed didn't mean anything in the playoffs because both of them lost.
Yeah.
So I just want the Super Bowl to follow the same trend as the NFL playoffs and being the greatest games to be played.
That's incredible. Derrick, thanks so much for joining us. You are a living legend, and this was a ton of fun. Great insight.
Thank you. I can't wait to do it again post-Super Bowl.
Well, be careful now. We're going to have people take you up on that. You can follow Derrick on Twitter at DBrooks55. Derrick, thanks again.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.